We all know that this Edmonton Oilers season has not gone as planned. But even though they played a lot better as of late, that hasn't stopped the trade rumor mill from swirling. And over the weekend, I saw a few trade offers regarding both McDavid and Draisaitl that I thought were just absolutely nutty. And these trade offers were coming from places like the New York Post, TSN, regarding huge blockbuster McDavid and Draisaitl deals. But what do these outlets say about a potential Oilers McDavid Draisaitl trade? What could a Draisaitl McDavid trade actually look like? And how crazy did these offers actually get? Make sure you watch till the end for all the trade rumor content and hit that subscribe button if you're new for more trade rumor content just like this all throughout the year leading up to the trade deadline, because you won't want to miss a thing. Now, in our Oilers video about a week and a half ago, we were talking about McDavid, Draisaitl, this Oilers team and their future. But as bad as it got, we only discussed potentially McDavid wanting to be traded, not the Oilers actually trading him or Draisaitl. Because to me, I thought the thought of the Oilers actually trading him was pretty much impossible. But I guess there's some people that disagree with that. Because over the weekend, I saw two different places talking about a potential Draisaitl trade and potential McDavid trade. And going on to the first thing I saw from the New York Post from Larry Brooks, who would have the better Stanley Cup odds in fantastical Connor McDavid, Ilya Sorokin blockbuster? Of course, he just had to do this, didn't he? Now, it's awfully bold to start out an article like this saying the trade is not going to happen and never would happen. It is not a serious proposition, even if it maybe should be. I think Larry Brooks just ran out of ideas on this day, honestly. He says, adopting suspension and disbelief of world record propositions, which team do you think would have a better chance to win the Stanley Cup if the Oilers and Islanders pulled off this deal? And then he goes on to say, Connor McDavid, Evan Bouchard, and either Stuart Skinner or Calvin Pickard from Edmonton to the island in exchange for Ilya Sorokin and Matthew Barzal. I like how Larry starts to actually consider this, talking about the cap and how it would actually reduce their cap hit by $1.9 million. He says the Islanders would or should do it in a minute. I mean, of course. You get McDavid, you get Bouchard. Of course they would take this in a minute. Especially if it's Stuart Skinner. I mean, if Stuart Skinner's on there, sure, he hasn't had the greatest year, but as a fringe backup for now, he could be pretty perfect. Varlamov has been great. You could shelter that pretty well. You get McDavid. Why would the Islanders say no to that? He asks, I wonder, would the Oilers have a better shot at the Cup after making this trade? Would the Islanders? My question to Larry in this is, what does this even fix for the Oilers? Sure, you get that big addition onto the goaltending, and Ilya Sorokin is one of the best goaltenders in the world. But outside of that, this doesn't fix your defense. In fact, it makes it worse. And offensively, you also take a big hit, only adding Matthew Barzal for Connor McDavid, which I'm sorry, is a huge downgrade. Sure, that goaltending is going to be a whole lot better, but you have no offensive depth still. You lack a lot less superstar power, and your defense is still the Oilers' defense, so it's not going to be very good. Literally, the only reason they'd want to trade for a big-time goaltender is if they're going to keep McDavid and Draisaitl around. You don't trade one of those guys to get a goaltender. You're trading for a goaltender to get those guys a Stanley Cup. That's what we're talking about here. If you trade McDavid, what is the point for going after Sorokin? What is the point of trading anybody else and getting any other assets? I mean, if you're going to trade McDavid, at least get some more depth, at least improve a little bit in that category, but I just don't see how that does it at all. The problem with the Connor McDavid trade proposal is that it's assuming that the Oilers want to bring in players now, and let's be honest, if the Oilers trade McDavid, it's to restart that franchise. The Oilers aren't trading for a 28-year-old goaltender now, and they're not trading for a superstar defenseman now. If they're trading McDavid, they're getting multiple first-round picks, multiple top prospects, multiple young players that could be on the roster now. They are getting every single young potential asset that they can for an actual legend in this game, because that's really the only way you can make a deal happen like that and even come close to justifying. But even then, you don't justify it unless McDavid literally publicly wants out, and that's your only option, because Edmonton just would not do that otherwise. Now, a player, especially early on with the Oilers' struggles this season, I saw being in trade rumors a lot more than Connor McDavid, was actually Leon Draisaitl. A lot of people have called for Draisaitl to be traded, but just like McDavid, you can see just how solid the point numbers have still been this season and getting better and better as well. Finally, starting to get that goal scoring go. We had Bucci Gross a little while back putting up this trade proposal for the Bruins and the Oilers, saying, would you trade Draisaitl and Foegele for last year's Vezina winner, of course, in Linus Ullmark, DeBrusk, Quatra, Liesel, and a 2026 first rounder, saying the Central Registry would approve this proposed trade for cap and roster implications. Now, Bucci, I do believe, yes, the Central Registry would approve it, but the Oilers or Bruins, I don't think so. I can see the vision, but this is also one of those trades that both teams probably reject. I don't think for Boston they would ever want to touch the the just chemistry that they have right now. Obviously, Poitras looks like a stud. Linus Ullmark can swim in as one of the best goalies tandems in the league. Lee Sells looks like a pretty solid player as well in the future. DeBrusk has been good for them too. So for Boston, there's literally no reason to make this trade, especially with Poitras coming up and immediately looking like a top 6 center for the future. The problem with trades like this is that it still relies on the assumption that Boston needs a centerman right now, which they really don't. They've not just survived, but they've thrived with players like Zacha and Geeky, and of course, Matthew Poitras playing to an unreal level. And with Poitras looking like a first-line center of the future, at least a top 6 centerman, what's the need for Boston to change anything right now? They're among the top in the league. They're one of the best teams and have been over the past couple of years, and they look like they'll have some players coming up too. So it just doesn't make any sense to change anything. I wouldn't even change the hand soap brand in the bathroom, because right now everything is working for the Bruins, and why would you trade so much to get a player that you don't need in the end? And then we go into this video from TSN's Overdrive with a headline, "You might have to throw in Draisaitl as a sweetener to shed Campbell's contract."
If you wanted to get crazy and go John Gibson for Jack Campbell, and then you have to obviously have a sweetener to make Gibson's money.
Sweetener.
Gibson's got
Sweetener. You
Sweetener
don't
might
have
be
to
Draisaitl. You might have to throw Draisaitl into the deal.
a
it's a first-rounder
Draisaitl
and stuff.
sweetener to take Campbell.
No. What I'm saying is to make the money work, because John Gibson's got 4 years left at 6.4.
Now the guys end up mentioning John Gibson from the Anaheim Ducks, and this is a proposal that we've kind of seen in the past as well. Obviously, we've had a lot of John Gibson trade rumors over the past couple of years. Even as soon as this offseason, there are rumors of him requesting a trade, wanting a trade out of Anaheim. Those were seemingly debunked, but of course, with Anaheim's future, we're not really sure how competent John Gibson sees that. Though Anaheim started off amazingly this year, there had been points in other seasons where they started off at a great level, and John Gibson playing well was a part of that, but of course, it didn't really materialize into anything. You can see John Gibson this year has been on a different level compared to the years past. I would say for him, he really hasn't been at a great level since probably 2019, at least on a consistent year-to-year basis. But this year in 14 games, he has a .911 save percentage, is one of the best goalies in terms of goals saved above expected. His win-loss ratio doesn't look too good, but Anaheim hasn't really had the greatest support when he's played in front of him. Still though, Gibson could be a really interesting add for this Oilers team and could be a goaltender that they could need. Now, they mentioned Leon Draisaitl as a sweetener to get rid of Jack Campbell and bring on John Gibson. That's never going to happen. Sure, Campbell has a ton of negative value of that contract, probably the worst contract in the league right now, but Draisaitl just brings so much positive value that I'm not sure that a deal like that could ever happen. Plus, I just don't think for Anaheim they'd really want to make a trade like that either. You have Lucas Dostal, sure, coming up and looking okay, but he's not completely there yet. And I think getting rid of John Gibson at this stage would be a mistake. Plus, what would Draisaitl really add to the Ducks? He brings a lot of pure offense, that's for sure. But they already got McTavish coming up. They already got Leo Carlsson as your top 2 centermen. What are you going to do? You're going to put McTavish on the wing? I mean, you already have so much quality up the middle. Why are you getting a player in Draisaitl? I mean, sure, you could put him on the wing. That could be pretty nasty. But I just think for Anaheim, it's something that they don't necessarily need for the future. I think adding more defense, adding more consistency within this group, more experience is the most important thing. They've already added so many assets and so many future potential players that I just don't think for Anaheim, rushing and making a move like this is what's necessary. Plus, you'd have to bring on the Jack Campbell contract, which is very bad. Now, they end up mentioning Mackenzie Blackwood as well as a potential piece, and he sure would be a lot cheaper. He started out this season amazingly for San Jose, has kind of teetered off a little bit over the past couple of weeks, but has still been decent for them. An .897 save percentage in 15 games with that Sharks team is still pretty okay. But that's the thing, season-wide, he's been okay. He's about average in goals saved above expected, and I don't think he would be a savior onto this Oilers team. He would give them some more stability in the tandem over Calvin Pickard, but I don't think by that much. But then again, how much would it cost to get him? A 3rd-round pick, maybe? I mean, for Edmonton, if they're talking about cheap options, Mackenzie fits that bill, but there's a reason why he would come so cheap. Now, one name that makes a lot of sense to me and a potential deal that we could see with some shedded salary, a player that actually has done pretty well this season, to his credit, has been Elvis Merzlikins of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Now, Merzlikins brings some of his own problems. The inconsistency has been there over the past few years, and that is something to watch. But this year, a .907 save percentage with Columbus, he's actually been very good these last couple weeks, has had a lot of games where he's just stolen the show. But you look at it, and this is a contract that is risky to bring on. For one, he has a modified no trade clause, but he makes $5.4 million for the next 3 seasons after this. So if he doesn't perform up to expectations, it's another potential Jack Campbell contract. Still though, I think for Edmonton, this is a player that is incredibly skilled and could be worth the risk is a player that might need to change his scenery as well to really unlock that full potential. And of course, we know that Columbus has a lot of spare D that they aren't using right now. Peak is among them. Boquist could be one that could be added on. I trust that Peak might be the option for Edmonton, considering his youth, the cap it, as well as just being more of a defensive defenseman, and I think Edmonton will like that a lot more. But I think this trade could be interesting. Maybe you give up a player like Bourgault, maybe you give up a second or a third, or another player like Raphael Lavoie. You would have to make the cap work, of course. Obviously, shedding Jack Campbell, that will require a lot of value back for Edmonton, but honestly, it might be worth it to just get rid of those guys, make sure you can bring in some stability. Hopefully, Merzlikins can be that. I think what we've learned here, though, folks, is that there's no easy answer for these Oilers' woes and, of course, the future of this team. I think Ken Holland has just created this disaster that is almost impossible to fix. Sure, you could trade for Merzlikins at Peak, but that's not going to guarantee any long-term success or any playoff success. It's really just throwing crap in the wind and hoping that it sticks. But it is true that, unfortunately, for Edmonton, there are no easy answers, and those easy answers are going to get even harder to come by if they trade McDavid or Draisaitl. At least that's my personal opinion. I mean, if you trade Draisaitl, you might as well start rebuilding. If you trade McDavid, you might as well pack up your entire franchise. This is a situation that I don't envy Ken Holland being in, but at the same time, this is a situation that Ken Holland has created himself. He gave Jack Campbell that contract. He didn't have to give it in the first place. But now Ken Holland and this Oilers franchise are kind of reaping what they sow, and now we've got impossible trade rumors that people feel like are the only answer for these Oilers woes, and honestly, I don't blame them. Right now, Edmonton is in just a kind of a horrible spot, and even though they have been playing better, like I talked about in the Oilers video we made about a week and a half ago, even if they do play better, even if they research, make the playoffs, it still doesn't feel like this Oilers team is going to have enough defense, enough goaltending quality to make it and get past it in the end. And for Edmonton, I mean, I would make a deal. I would make some sort of possible change onto that goaltending because it just seems like it'll never be enough for them right now. But honestly, what do you even do? What do you even try to do with this Oilers team? It's just a disaster no matter what. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What do you guys think of my potential mock trade with Edmonton and Columbus? What do you think about the trade ideas, of course, with Draisaitl to the Bruins, potentially John Gibson for Draisaitl, McDavid to the Islanders for Barzal and Sorokin? Let us know all your thoughts down below. And what is your crazy Connor McDavid or Draisaitl mock trade? Let us know all your thoughts. And of course, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell if you guys enjoyed this fun video. I had a ton of fun making it, going through all the different scenarios. And of course, make sure to share the video with all the hockey fans you guys know online. And click on this card right here for all my Trading Room content right on one playlist. My name is Nathan, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great day, and goodbye.